My name is Rachel Martinez, and I've spent the last 3 years living in a cramped studio apartment, counting every penny, while my sister Amanda lived in luxury. But today, at her lavish wedding, everything changes. As I sit here with my laptop, watching her float down the aisle in her $50,000 designer gown, I can't help but smile. She has no idea what's coming. Let me take you back to where this all began. Our parents, David and Elena Martinez, weren't just successful, they were brilliant. Dad was a real estate developer who transformed struggling properties into gold mines, while Mom was a savvy investment banker who could spot a winning stock from miles away. Together, they built an empire worth $8.3 million, all while remaining the most loving, devoted parents anyone could ask for. Growing up, Amanda was always the favorite. She was beautiful, charismatic, and knew exactly how to wrap people around her finger. I was the quiet one, more interested in books and computers than parties and social events. But our parents loved us equally, always ensuring we both had everything we needed. "Remember, girls," Mom would say, "money is important, but family is everything." If only she knew how prophetic those words would become. 3 years ago, our parents were killed in a tragic yacht accident off the coast of Greece. The pain of losing them was devastating enough, but what happened next would change my life forever. Amanda, being the older sister and a successful corporate lawyer, took charge of handling our parents' estate. I was too grief-stricken to question her taking the lead, especially since she had always been the responsible one in the family's eyes. "Don't worry about anything, Rach," she said, hugging me at the funeral. "I'll take care of everything." It's what Mom and Dad would have wanted. 2 weeks later, she called me to her office. I still remember how imposing she looked behind her massive mahogany desk, her face a perfect mask of practiced sympathy. "Rachel, I have some terrible news," she began, shuffling through papers. "Mom and Dad's investments, they're gone." I stared at her, uncomprehending. "What do you mean, gone?" "They made some risky investments right before they died. Everything was tied up in a venture capital fund that just collapsed. There's nothing left except for their life insurance, which barely covered their debts." I felt the room spin. Our parents had always been so careful with money. It didn't make sense. But their properties? The stocks? Their savings? Amanda shook her head sadly. "All gone. The market crashed at the worst possible time." "I'm so sorry, Rachel. I know you were counting on your share of the inheritance." I left her office that day in a daze. Everything our parents had worked for, everything they'd planned to leave us. Just gone? It seemed impossible. But Amanda had all the documentation. She showed me papers, statements, reports, all indicating that our parents' fortune had vanished in a series of unfortunate market turns. As a corporate lawyer, she understood all the complex financial jargon that made my head spin. "At least you have your job at the library," she said, not quite hiding her condescension. "You'll be okay." And so began 3 years of struggling to make ends meet. I kept my job as a research librarian, living in a tiny studio apartment while watching Amanda's life become increasingly luxurious. She bought a mansion in the hills, drove a new Mercedes, and traveled the world, all on her corporate lawyer salary, she claimed. Something didn't add up, but I had no proof. Just a nagging feeling in my gut that my sister, the person I should have been able to trust most in the world, was lying to me. That's when I decided to put my research skills to use. You see, being a librarian isn't just about shelving books. It's about knowing how to find information, how to connect dots that others miss. And I was very, very good at my job. I started small, tracking Amanda's public records. Property purchases, business registrations, tax liens. On the surface, everything seemed legitimate. But then I discovered something interesting, a pattern of shell companies, all registered within weeks of our parents' death. Using my library's access to financial databases, I began digging deeper. Each shell company led to another, forming a complex web that would have discouraged most people. But I had nothing but time and determination. For 2 years, I spent every free moment investigating. I took online courses in forensic accounting. I made friends with court clerks who gave me access to sealed records. I even learned how to hack, strictly for research purposes, of course. The breakthrough came 6 months ago, when I discovered a hidden bank account in the Cayman Islands. The account was registered to one of Amanda's shell companies, and the initial deposit was made 3 days after our parents' death, $8.3 million, exactly the amount of their fortune. But I didn't stop there. I tracked every transaction, every transfer, every purchase. I watched as Amanda moved the money through dozens of accounts, disguising its origin but always keeping it within her control. She hadn't lost our parents' money. She had stolen it. The evidence was overwhelming. Bank statements, transfer records, corporate filings, all pointing to a massive fraud orchestrated by my own sister. She had taken everything our parents had meant for both of us and kept it for herself. Why didn't I confront her immediately? Because Amanda was still a powerful corporate lawyer with connections throughout the city. She could have buried the evidence, dismissed me as a jealous sister, maybe even had me discredited or worse. No, I needed the perfect moment. A moment when she couldn't hide, couldn't spin the truth, couldn't escape the consequences of her actions. That moment came when she announced her engagement to James Whitaker, the son of a prominent judge. Amanda was finally getting her fairy tale wedding, sparing no expense to impress her future in-laws and the city's elite. I received my invitation 3 months ago, hand-delivered, with gold embossing and real silk ribbons. The irony wasn't lost on me that she was probably using our parents' money to pay for all this extravagance. "I want you to be my maid of honor," Amanda said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "We're still family after all." I accepted, of course, and I began preparing for the perfect revelation. First, I organized all my evidence into an airtight presentation. Every transaction, every document, every piece of proof was triple-checked and verified. I hired my own lawyer, paid for by selling my car, to review everything and confirm that what Amanda had done was criminal fraud. Then I contacted the FBI's white-collar crime division. They were very interested in my evidence, particularly given the amount of money involved in Amanda's position as a corporate lawyer. But I convinced them to wait, to let me handle the revelation my way. "Just be ready," I told them. "When I give the signal, I want you there immediately." The wedding day arrived bright and clear. Amanda had chosen the city's most exclusive venue, a historic mansion with sprawling gardens. 300 guests, the cream of society, gathered to witness her special day. I played my part perfectly through the morning preparations. I helped her with her dress, smiled for photos, gave a touching speech at the bridal breakfast. If Amanda noticed anything off about my behavior, she didn't show it. The ceremony itself was beautiful, I have to admit. Amanda was radiant as she walked down the aisle, her dream finally coming true. Judge Whitaker beamed proudly as his son waited at the altar. Everything was perfect. Until the reception. The timing had to be exact. I waited until everyone was seated for dinner, until Amanda and James had finished their first dance, until the champagne was flowing freely. Then I stood up, tapping my glass for attention. "I'd like to make a toast to my sister," I began, my laptop already connected to the venue's projection system. "About family, truth, and inheritance." Amanda's smile froze as I clicked the first slide, a photo of our parents. 3 years ago, we lost our wonderful parents, I continued. They left behind a fortune of $8.3 million, meant to be shared between their 2 beloved daughters. I clicked to the next slide, bank statements showing the transfer to the Cayman Islands account. But one daughter decided she deserved it all. "Let me show you exactly where our parents' money really went." The room fell silent as I methodically presented my evidence. Bank transfers, property purchases, shell companies. Everything laid bare for all to see. Amanda's face went from confused to horrified to furious as she realized what was happening. "She's lying," she screamed, standing up so quickly she knocked over her champagne. "She's always been jealous of me. This is all fake." But it wasn't fake, and everyone in the room knew it. The documentation was too thorough, the evidence too clear. Judge Whitaker, a man who had spent his career prosecuting white-collar crime, looked like he was about to be sick. "I trusted you," James said, stepping away from Amanda. "Was any of it real?" That's when the FBI agents walked in. I had timed it perfectly. They arrived just as I finished presenting the evidence. Amanda, still in her wedding dress, was led away in handcuffs, screaming threats and accusations. "You've ruined everything," she shrieked at me. "I'm your sister. How could you do this to me?" I walked up to her, keeping my voice calm. "No, Amanda. You ruined everything when you stole from our parents, when you lied to me, when you made me struggle while you lived in luxury. Mom always said family was everything. You're the one who forgot that." The aftermath was exactly what you'd expect. Amanda was charged with multiple counts of fraud and money laundering. The FBI froze all her assets, including the stolen inheritance. James called off the marriage immediately, apparently, Finding out your bride is a criminal on your wedding day is a deal breaker. It took another year of legal proceedings, but finally justice was served. Amanda accepted a plea deal. 5 years in prison and full restitution of the stolen money. Our parents' fortune was returned to the estate, to be divided equally as they had intended. I moved out of my tiny apartment into a comfortable home. Not a mansion, but a place I could be proud of. I kept my job at the library because I genuinely loved it, but now I didn't have to worry about making ends meet. The money was nice, but the real victory was exposing the truth. Our parents had always taught us that honesty and family were the most important things in life. Amanda had betrayed both, and she paid the price. Sometimes I visit her in prison. Not often, but enough to keep the door open for reconciliation. She's different now, humbled, perhaps even remorseful. The designer clothes and perfect makeup are gone, replaced by a prison uniform and bare face. "I'm sorry," she said during my last visit. "I got greedy. I thought I deserved it more than you." "It was never about deserving," I replied. "It was about family. Life has a way of teaching us the lessons we need to learn." Amanda learned about consequences. I learned about standing up for what's right, even when it hurts. As for our parents' money, I've used my share to set up a scholarship fund in their name, helping underprivileged students study law and finance. Every year, we help young people learn the right way to succeed in the financial world. The irony isn't lost on me that my research skills, the very thing Amanda always looked down on, were what ultimately exposed her fraud. Sometimes the quiet ones, the book lovers, the people who prefer databases to cocktail parties, are the ones you should watch out for. Epilogue. 5 years have passed since that dramatic wedding day. Amanda was released from prison last month, her sentence reduced for good behavior. She's different now. The designer clothes and arrogance are gone, replaced by a genuine humility I never thought I'd see in my sister. She's staying with me while she gets back on her feet. It's not always easy, but we're working on rebuilding our relationship. Some days we even manage to laugh about the past, though the pain and betrayal will never completely fade. The Scholarship Fund has helped dozens of students achieve their dreams. Each year at the awards ceremony, I tell them our story, not to shame Amanda, but to remind them that integrity matters more than money. Our parents would be proud of that, I think. Not of how we got here, but of where we ended up. They always said family was everything, and in the end, they were right. It just took us losing everything to figure that out. Last week, Amanda and I visited their graves together for the first time since the funeral. As we stood there, she squeezed my hand and whispered, "I'm sorry I forgot what really mattered." I squeezed back. Sometimes the hardest lessons lead to the most important changes. The money. It's just money. The truth? That's priceless.